So I see people are joining in. So let me know that you guys can hear everything. Either raise your hand or. But thanks for joining. Hi, Kalisha. Lovely to see your name on the screen. Haven't seen you forever. Hello, Annie. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, wow. These names are joining us. Yes, so names are trickling in as we speak. So guys, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for making the time. Mickela, Ovo, Wanita. You guys all come from such different backgrounds, which is absolutely perfect because then we can talk about business. Now, I can't describe to people what you do individually. Now, this is not going to be some long intro. It's going to be just, hey, who are you and why are you here? So I'm going to start with Mickela because she logged in first and got the tech down first.
So can you hear me properly? Yeah? No?
Say that again.
Can you hear me properly or should I plug in the headphones? I don't know if you're...
I think there's a little bit of feedback. So yes, come in a little bit closer. Oh, lovely.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Okay, great. So yeah, hi.
Hi.
My name is Mickela. And I am the founder and the company director of a community interest company called HR Sports Academy. So what I do is I basically use sports to positively develop young people. We get them in as a hook, using sport as a hook, and then using sport for good. So not just developing athletes, but using it to develop their social skills, create new friends, cohesion, to develop their academic performance, to help social integration, to help out parents who need childcare, literally any way that we're able to help positively develop young people, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds. That's what we do, really. It started off as just me delivering basketball. Bought 10 basketballs, went into a school and we've expanded into boxing, cheerleading, gymnastics. We have 5 football teams competitively competing. We've helped thousands of young people and hundreds into employment. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
You said thousands of young people.
Yeah, so we've helped over 30,000 young people.
Right?
That's
good. Thank you for giving us the numbers. The numbers are key.
Okay.
Hi, Ovo.
Hello. I know I was lost.
I thought so too, but then I just kind of went in a clockwise in my screen. I'm shy.
Right. I'm always shy, very, very shy. So I've recently actually changed roles. So I'm head of data transformation at M&G. What does that actually mean? I'm still figuring it out, to be quite honest. It's a quite brand new role, sort of made it for myself within the organization. We're going through a huge amount of change. We are merging and spinning off into a FTSE 100 company. So I'm involved in loads of projects around data and transforming it. What's my actual background? I've done a lot of things, actually. So I started up as a consultant in Deloitte and then joined the client, being Prudential, having delivered their Solvency II solution, the first in the world. And actually then went on to do a whole lot of operational data roles and then went off to do some valuation stuff. So I ensured that the value of our funds were correct. And to give you an idea, we have 340 billion pounds worth of funds. And my job was to ensure that we value that correctly on a daily basis. But yeah, right now I'm really much knee deep in loads of projects, very complex data projects, operational projects, to turn a company that is pretty much a UK company into an international company in the next 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. You're going to have a whole lot of explaining to do later on when we talk about kind of and actually just data, because I think that, I don't know if I don't even know if bankers know how important data is in regards to kind of just like structure, to be honest. So in regards to, but we'll talk about that afterwards. Yes, we'll talk about that afterwards. I can't go into it. Yes. Thank you, Ovo. And then Wanita.
Hi, I'm Wanita. I'm a creative services director for Northern Europe, so Scandinavia and the UK for Ralph Lauren. What my main job is brand identity. We're in a wholesale market, and how do we protect our brand visually outside in the wholesale market? So yeah, we're all out here selling clothes, but how do we make a difference with how we show up in the market? And that is my remit for all of UK and Ireland and Scandinavia. We obviously have profitability to hit as well. It'd be lovely if we could just be a wholly creative team, but we've got numbers and data behind that. And I've been here 20 years next year. I started as a cashier. I was studying spatial design, and I took a job that no one said I could get. They were like, "You're not going to get it. Everybody's got degrees in it. You've got no background in it." And I took a job, and now I'm the director of Scandinavia and the UK.
I love those stories. I'm not gonna lie, I'm petty. So when people tell me that I can't do things, I'm like, oh darn, you made fun of me before and you told me I couldn't do it. Now look at you now. Oh well, too bad. I'm petty, I know. I'm pretty for me, it's fine. But I do thank you for sharing that. I just want to make sure in terms of Ralph Lauren actually is not just Ralph Lauren. Actually, there's other brands, aren't there?
Yeah, so there's 4 other brands in our remit, but all of them are under Ralph Lauren. So we have Purple Label, Polo, Lauren, children's wear. We have actually more. We have homeware, which is tabletop and furniture. Also, we have Club Monaco, which is a completely different brand, but it's yes, we own Club Monaco.
Club Monaco is a brand that I'm in love with. I just want to let you guys. I was totally.
So we own Club. Yeah, we own Club Monaco as well.
I'm on a judging table. I'm not gonna lie, like I have about 8 Lauren dresses. That's why Mel can't
everybody should have Lauren. Everybody should have Lauren dresses. They're amazing.
I know exactly. And everyone should do athletics in school as well, because that taught me the best of myself, to be fair, from young. So you guys all come from very, very different backgrounds, and I'm going to start it off actually with what Wanita said, kindly offered us. So along the side of your career, did someone ever tell you that you couldn't do it? It doesn't matter what it was, but was there someone that said, oh, Mickela, you know what do you mean HR Sports Academy? What the hell is that? That's not like a real business. What are you trying to, what is that? Or did they say, oh, well, you know what? At the end of the day, data is an impossible problem in banks, especially in kind of UK and European banks. So really, what are you trying to do here? Data transformation, what does that mean? Has anyone ever told you no in your career the way that Wanita just shared with us? Who wants to go first? Kayla, I feel like someone said, the way that your face looks, someone told you no. So who told you no? What did they tell you no about?
It wasn't necessarily no with regards to the business, but it was what built me up to setting up my own business. So when I finished uni and I went on a graduate scheme, the fact that I was one of the youngest people and it was a new role to me, whenever I had expressed an opinion or asked somebody to do something because I was younger and because I was, as far as they were concerned, inexperienced, they would not listen to me. It was a case of when I see fit, I will do. And for me, especially working with vulnerable young people, it wasn't a case of when you see fit, is if the information's there, then surely you should act upon it. And in that particular incident, the child that I wanted to refer tried to commit suicide. So for me, it was like, my voice isn't being heard in this kind of situation. When I was a coach as well, so when I used to do coaching and I had loads of ideas, oh, we should do this for the children, we should do that for the children. Again, because I was very young, it was very much, my voice wasn't heard. So I thought the best way to make my voice heard is to become my own boss. And 10 years later, Glad that I took that route.
Here you are. I know, and it's really tough to be petty in that situation just because there was life involved. No, but it's like, okay, fine, Mel, you can't be petty. That's fine. But then, Wanita, when did you ever encounter that person again who told you no?
No, they're no longer with the company. So, but I think I've had it quite through your career, and sometimes it's no out of kindness, it isn't no out of pettiness. It's they're wondering if you can, keep up with what is going to be happening. So sometimes it's like advice, but you just got to remember where is that person coming from when they're giving you that advice. So when I took the directorship, I was the person saying no. When I was offered the director job, I was like, I've just had a baby. What is this? This is crazy. And it was two other women, one without a baby, one with 4 babies, who made me take the role. But sometimes it's yourself as well, being the petty one, saying, no, you can't do it.
So who's your cheerleader then? Do you have a cheerleader? I know I have a squad. I need sometimes my squad is for when I don't think I can do it, and sometimes my squad is for just kind of holding me down when someone has told me no. So do you have a squad? Oh, but when you just said you changed roles, right? You just got a new role, data transformation. Yeah. So did your squad help you out with that?
No, actually, it was. I have this tendency with my boss. I tell him I'm bored whenever I want to change of roles, and he tends to listen. And he knows the conversation when I'm bored is if I'm bored for too long, I will leave. I'm a little. I think I've learned to be a bit more direct. I have had a lot of no's. I think my career has been a series of no's. I tend not to listen to them anymore. So you will have no's where it is in an interview where someone just says, I think we need someone a bit more experienced. That's a no, not because they think you can't do it, but because they want someone a bit more experienced. So I've been gone for jobs where I heard a no and actually had better ones as a result of that, and seen the people who got the job later and gone, really, them and not me? So not petty, but I do think your ability to hear a no and then say, okay, what is it I have to take away from that? So I think I wasn't selling myself well enough. So I have a big thing about biases. I really think people need to do away with their biases, and I like to point out when people are biased about certain things. So it's easy for someone to show up and you have a straight bias. I think I know this person's like, oh, they look quite young, they don't have experience, and so on and so forth. So in many ways, that's I think there are two sides of me that was worrying that. One side wants to come in there and say, well, accept me as I am, and hence I'm not selling myself. I stopped selling myself. I stopped realizing that people do have biases and I can't do anything about that. So I just have to accept it. The other side of myself who realizes people have biases, I have to come in and effectively go, right, I've got 5 minutes to sell myself to this person. What do I say to make myself come out as the best self? So for me not to hear that no, I have to sell myself better. Otherwise, you will hear a lot of no's along the way.
Okay, so people told me no with the awards, and there were some no's that actually they were good no's, they were quality no's. And what I mean by that was that it wasn't ready, or I wasn't ready, or it wasn't ready. So it forced me to kind of go back and just revise or just kind of change things up a little bit. Like I remember when I went to kind of 5 white cisgender men and said, hey, it's awards program, what's up? And they're like, we don't care. And I love them for that, because they're just like, make them care. So what do I do with the awards to make them care? How do I change the offering a little bit? And so have you ever, what you're saying is turn the no's that you receive into yeses, like basically kind of say, what do I have to do to turn that person into a yes?
Yeah. So I was reminded about this in a very, very good way recently at a Black History Month event, where the speaker basically said, imagine yourself as that charity worker on the street trying to stop people and get them to buy into something that actually they really care about, but no one else does. So when you walk up to your boss's desk and think, I have this great idea that I'm really passionate about, why does he care? He literally has 5 minutes to run to his next meeting. You've got to make him stop and listen. So if you stop thinking of yourself as, oh, everyone should care about this idea because I care about it, and actually say, people actually might not care about it, but you have to sell it better. So I just think it's to get those, to prevent those no's, you just have to think about how do you sell yourself better.
A bunch of people just joined. Whoa. So if you would like me to ask questions, I'm looking at the questions right now. I'm also looking at the chat that's going on. So please do just forward through your questions if you have any questions for a specific panelist, for all the panelists. We want to start on time because we don't got a lot of time. So yes, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Janet. I see all your names. Thank you. Hands up, hands up, hands up. But we are going to kind of go right into it and talk to me about, okay, do you guys think that you're a success? Mickela, do you think you're a success?
I want to say yes. I'm gonna say yes, but it's a discussion that my brother and I, who's the other director of the organization, have all the time. Whenever we meet targets, we've obviously successfully met them, or we've successfully engaged X amount of children, or successfully helped X amount of children. And the fact that we are here and we've been doing it for a long time and we've won multiple of awards would say that we are a success. But I think success is defined differently by everybody. So sometimes I'm very, very hard on myself, and I don't necessarily think that I'm doing, not necessarily doing the right thing, but I haven't met a target, but then I forget about what I previously met. So in answer to your question, short, yes, of course I am. And the fact that I was a finalist helps to celebrate that and reminds me that. And I think that's what's great about your awards and awards like yours. It reminds people of how much they have achieved and what they are doing, and that they are successful. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for that. That wasn't a paid advertisement, everybody. But I do think that it's so funny. The way that I have to drag some people, and she knows exactly who I'm talking about, into this process is unbelievable, because it doesn't feel like, it's really hard to acknowledge that we have success, or even to make time for the external accolades, right, Wanita?
Yeah, I'm the bad one. I have a real.
I just want to say a little story. I met Wanita. I was like, what do you do? What's going on? Okay. And we had a mutual friend, and I was like, we need a nomination form for her. People need to know that she exists. Let me tell you, people, like, it was like pulling teeth. I was like, she's like, no, she's not gonna, no, she doesn't have time. What do you mean she doesn't have time? What are you talking about? Tell her to stop being so selfish. And I would say probably about a good 60-70% of the nominees that walk across that stage need kind of prompting, like someone has to, and it may not be quite the drag, knock them down force, but it's definitely at least a tap on the shoulder. So talk to me, Wanita. Talk to us about what was going on in your head.
Yeah, so I probably, the picture I have of success, and I don't think that I've hit it yet, but so I'm not very good at taking success every single step of the way. And then also because I'm in the creative industry, we're the kind of people that set things up, and then we kind of leave and go home, and everybody enjoys the success. If you get what I mean. And then we're the least appreciated in the boardroom, because people think we don't know about numbers and we don't know about profitability. And I'm one of those odd ones that do, and actually like numbers, because they're proof in the pudding. So it's a bit like being a creative. Sometimes you're not appreciated or seen as successful in a business remit, and so maybe I take that on board.
So that so the first line of your answer, you said, in terms of what I thought success looked like, I didn't think I looked like that.
Yeah.
Kind of is what you said. And so
Yeah,
what
yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
think success looked like?
I thought it was like people who have it together. It's like CEOs, people who have it together, people who really are making, like huge decisions, big decisions about people's careers, a body of people's careers. But actually, what I realize now is that I am impacting people's career. I'm impacting a brand from every consumer that walks into the stores. That's what I'm impacting. And also, I do have a voice at the table, and that voice is to do with profitability and protecting the brand. And if that's one thing when you have a brand, is that you can protect it, I think that's a really important thing. Because
Yeah,
we're the
most.
ones that are saying we measure the decisions that the sales, let's say, because they're basically sales, we measure decisions and we're the censor check for those sales. Because of course we can sell anywhere and do anything, but we're the censor check for that.
Most definitely. And I think that you're right. It could be just about selling things, but it's not. When you have such a strong brand, Polo Ralph Lauren is probably one of the strongest brands in the world. People always know that little horse and that little man.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my little polo, but those are my polo hands. People know that brand is quite iconic as well, particularly. And Club Monaco is Club Monaco being a Canadian brand.
Yeah.
It's one of our most iconic brands. We're so proud of it as Canadians as well. So I do think that there's a intangible power that maybe you're not, maybe you didn't acknowledge in the beginning, because it's huge. It's like all brand, really. Like sometimes, obviously it's product, but like the brand is like, if the brand went down like that, in terms of being in a luxury market as well, like it's just a lot about the brand and the quality and it's a lot. That's a huge job that you have.
Yep.
Yeah. So you are pretty much success.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I
So
also like the success because I do image and confidence talks in school. So success is about you taking it.
it is.
Also, you owning your success. It's not about somebody giving it to you in a title or a salary. I mean, that's nice, but also it's about you taking it. Because when I do the talks in school, I said the last one I did, the kids kind of got what brand equity was in like an hour, and I thought, yeah, this is successful.
Yeah.
This is from what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we're paying £70? It's got nothing to do with Nike and the cost of it, and only £30 is. And they got it at the end of the hour. So for me, that was successful.
Yes. And you know what?
Taking it. Yeah.
I feel there needs to be a BBA workshop on brand equity because people just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like seriously, no, it's so deep. It's so deep. So I think when we think about success, I find that most of the time we think about the end of the journey. So we think about Amazon, we think about Jeff Bezos, Amazon now. We think about Apple, we think about Steve Jobs, we think about Steve Jobs now. We think about Mark Zuckerberg now in terms of some of these big internet businesses. But I find that we don't really delve into the hard stuff very much in regards to, when Steve Jobs was fired from his company, when Mark Zuckerberg pretty much, broke off with his best friends because they started the company together and now, like they can barely speak. We don't talk. Michelle Obama last week came out with the information that she and Barack Obama had been trying to have children for so long, and Malia and Sasha actually were born at, she went through IVF to have them, and then on top of that, they almost broke up. So I think we see this kind of glorified notion of what success looks like, but then we don't really acknowledge what the hardships were, like that tough bit that we had to dig into ourselves to kind of see on the other side. So Ovo, can we talk about kind of frankly that the tough bit? Like, what was that tough moment for you where you didn't, maybe in the middle of it you didn't know if you're going to get through it on the other side?
Yeah.
And then how did you?
Okay. I think it's worth then. I completely echo the idea of it can go into a lot of. I'll answer your question. I was at the beginning of a project as a senior consultant. Um, Literally just got promoted into a senior consultant at Deloitte, thinking I was given this opportunity. Opportunities always terrible problems. So if you have a problem, that's an opportunity. But it was a project that was effectively 3 months behind schedule. I knew next to nothing about it. I spent the first week just literally understanding what was going on, and I went, crap. And I then sat down on the Friday and I wrote the partner an email explaining all the things that were going on with this project. I was like, crap, how in the world how am I ever gonna deliver this? And I went home that weekend, because it was a Friday evening, I sent him that email. And he responded to me on the weekend saying, let's grab coffee Monday morning. By which time I had like recovered from my crap moment. And he said, okay, yeah, I knew it was this bad. And that's why I got you to come and do it. And he kind of laughed and he said, yeah, I've heard you've got a reputation for dealing with a project like here, but not this bad. And so I went, you know what, let's go for it. So that started probably 9 months of, getting into the office at 7:30 and leaving at 11 most nights, and coming in on the weekends when I had to, which was pretty much every weekend, to reel the project back in and deliver. And by the end of it, we were known as the Green Project, and so much so that we used to like go into status updates, and all the other project managers just show up and they'll go, "Oh, we're still red. Oh, we're still red." And then we joke about the difference of you red or burgundy, and I'll go, "What about you, Alvago? Green?" And to a point where someone actually came up with a song. There's a Kermit the Frog song. It's not easy being green. That became my team's theme song. But it didn't just show up by, everyone just thinks, oh yeah, you had it easy, it was green. I remind them of that moment where I was like, are you guys freaking kidding me? This is not a project that looks like it could possibly succeed. But yeah, we got there.
But then but the thing is, you were handed that, and so I'm thinking, what I'm trying to get to is, when you mess up, it's yours. Like it's your, and I want to explore that, because I find that people just maybe think that the road to business success is perfection, where maybe you don't have a misstep or a misturn, and then be able to kind of speak to kind of the resilience of making a mistake, or maybe making the wrong decision, and be like, okay, you know what, I didn't think it in the beginning, but on the other side of it, okay, right, that happened for a reason, or it may not be your misstep, maybe someone else's misstep, but it really impacted you kind of greatly. It feels like they kind of called you in to save the day, because it was already a bad situation. I already knew it was a bad situation, but I'm talking about, like everyone thinks the Black British Business Awards, everyone's like, it's great, it's a success. No one knows about the Center for African Progress. Why? Because it didn't work. Like no one knows about that. But that was one of the road to the awards was a long road. It wasn't just me like kind of popping up and saying, "Oh yeah, let's think about these awards." No. It was me making several kind of tentative steps, like missteps, or just like, "Oh, that didn't really work out that well," or just blah 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 blah. And so, Mickela, particularly as an entrepreneur, did you start? What were the, I guess, the missteps that got you to 30, like thousands and thousands of students?
The missteps. Honestly, there haven't been that many. There's been points where, say, for instance, our employees and those that deliver the sessions. So there've been instances where I think I've probably left them and not checked up on them enough. And that obviously can ruin the brand, or it can develop a bad relationship with the schools, especially if they're not happy with the service and I'm not continuously ensuring that they're doing a good job, or just having those little spot checks. So I think that would probably be one of the main things, checking up on the employees all the time, ensuring that we're having these meetings, we're having these refresher courses, and just having a good relationship with them. We've had, at the moment especially, we have an excellent team of staff, but there has been previously times where we've had people in that purpose wasn't the same as ours. It was just a job for them, and for them that would make them come in late, and especially working with children, they can't be late. It would mean that their behavior around them sometimes wasn't what was expected or what is appropriate. And I think, again, just making sure that, whether it be myself or ensuring that somebody else is there that's continuously checking up on this and having feedback with the clients, and particularly the schools and the people in charge of the contracts, and making sure that we meet all of their expectations. Previously, that would be a part where I've slipped up, and has made me realize that customer satisfaction is definitely key, and making sure that everybody is happy and learning from mistakes, and not only just the clients but also the staff. Maybe there was something that they weren't necessarily happy with, which resulted in them not being too keen on or bothered about turning up on time.
Okay. And that, you're right, it's perfect. And you could tell the reason why you are a success now, because you managed to turn maybe a misstep, or you turned it into a lessons learned. So you're like, okay, well, you know what? That didn't go quite well. So let me change that up, change up my steez a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're able to kind of fix the processes that were around serving your customers. And so, yeah, you're right. With the awards, I learned, with the Center for African Progress, I learned so much. And it didn't get off the ground, but I'm sure that the knowledge that I had moved me into the awards and moved me into other things. And so, how do you, I guess, remind yourself of what the big picture is? Like, how do you not get caught up in the weeds of when things go wrong on a, whether, or, just kind of the weeds of operations? Like, how did you level up is what so how do you not get into the nitty gritty? So Wanita, particularly when you're looking at some of the promotions that you've had, there must have been a time when you were like doing, and then you're like, oh, I need to like think a bit bigger and maybe like not put my hand onto everything. Like, when was that point? How did you understand that, and how did you do it?
I think for me it was about succession planning, because if I did I started to realize I was doing a lot, and maybe not doing the top line stuff, but also my managers weren't learning anything. And so when I needed them to, they were like caught in between the headlights. And I was like, actually, it's not their fault. It's because I'm trying to do everything. And actually, so it wasn't that I didn't feel that they could do it, but the reason why I changed was like, well, if I leave, I want them to be able to fill this space and overtake this space. I don't want them to drown under this job, which is easily done in any job. So then it was about letting go, and I don't micromanage now. My door is always open, and also you're not doing a good job doing everything. And you have to remember, I'm not an entrepreneur, but you have to remember what you get paid for. So, like Ralph is not paying me to check up on every single report. Ralph is paying me that they understand what they need to produce. So that's via inspiration, but it's not by sitting in the office and checking that. So it's top line. What is your job description, and what are you getting paid to do, and what are you getting paid to influence?
Yes. Yeah, I have a version of that. It's more so, is this the best use of my time? Like, is this really what you want me to do right now today? Is this the best use of Melanie Usabi's time? Yeah. Like, so many people email me and they say, hey, Mel, I need to find a Black person for some event, or a Black person for some role. And I'm just like, is this the best use of my time? Like, is this like me emailing people and going back and forth? Is this really what God purposed me on this planet to do? So I do have to take a step back. And recently I know my default is someone else can do it. Not because I'm handing it off, but more so because I'm saying, okay, do I pay someone to do that? Or is there someone else on my team who's closer to it who can do it? Is it something that I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Or is it something that, I should get someone else to do it. So say, for example, sending out kind of our emails and announcing finalists. Like, is that, even though, yes, I know how to use MailChimp, but is that the best use of Melanie Sabi's time? Or is it better for me to go and write my speech so I'm not writing it 5 minutes before the event, that kind of thing. But it's really tough. Now my default is, who can do this, that it's not me, so that I can put my hand to to leading an org rather than to kind of doing the org. It's tough.
Yeah, and also you have as a leadership, you have the power. So if you're bringing power of change, let it be on the big stuff. Like let it not. Like if I'm paid to be a director and I have a certain amount of power that helps my team, helps them progress, helps us get what we want, then when I'm in the boardroom, let's not talk about pencils. Like I need to talk about what is going to impact my team and impact our role within the company and bring us forward. So if you've got power, use it.
Yeah, you have access where other people don't. Yeah, exactly. So you should use that access to its ultimate kind of power and gift. So then, how have you used the newfound power and access? So you, again, although you just said you're in a new role right now. So how do you, I guess, change your mindset to that new role? Like, how do you leave stuff behind, and how do you kind of grab onto new opportunities? Does that make sense? How do you change your mind, try new things?
I think you sort of nailed it when you said it's the best use of your time. I'm sort of someone who can be big picture, but also I tend to be in the detail. I'm also quite impatient. So if something can literally take me 5 minutes and someone's taking a day to do it, my patience runs thin quite quickly. There are certain things I have to remind myself. So I read a lot of books and I try to remind myself of certain principles. And I know I'm going to fly off track. So the best visual I always play back to myself is one I got from Stevie Covey's book on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he described the flight path for a plane. And he said, a plane does not actually fly in a straight line. You design a flight path, you're going from A to B, and you will find some turbulence, so you gear off it, but then you have to then realize you need to recenter, come back, and constantly it's like a zigzag as opposed to a straight line. And I have to bear that in mind, that even in what I'm doing, I have to stop each day and refocus and replan. One of the things I actually picked up recently was I took down and wrote a list of what does a good day look like for me? When does a day feel like I am doing my absolute best? And then what does a bad day look like for me? And what does that look like? So it could be things like, on a bad day, I am frustrated. I am impatient. I can be explosive in a bad way when in a bad day. On a good day, I am articulate, I am confident, and I sort of know how I feel. So I didn't have checkpoints during my day. I actually asked myself the question, am I having a good day, am I having a bad day? I might have checkpoints in a meeting where I might say, am I having a good meeting or a bad meeting? And I'll find myself having that checkpoint and mentally stopping in the meeting and saying, if it's a bad meeting, how do I transform this to a good meeting? If it's a bad day, how do I transform this to a good day? And some of that is me not just coming in and telling everyone what to do. That can become my very negative default mode when things go into crisis mode. I am the direct, we're doing this, you're doing that, because I have a play in my head that no one else can see but me, and I'm going to dictate how it's going to work. And once I get into that mode, I am the worst boss to have, because I'm not micromanaging, but you cannot do anything right. You've got to do it the way I thought you had to do it. Otherwise, it's like you've not delivered. And people have to be honest with me, and I get my team tell me, you're having a bad day, Albo. And that will actually pause me and go, okay, how do I go from that to being, no, you decide how the solution needs to work. This is what the outcome looks like. And hence I play the outcome back, and then you can decide how we're going to do it. Here are the deadlines, the real deadlines, not the ones you make up just so that you can see what they're doing. So you know they have a week, but you tell them they have 2 days so you can check up on them halfway through. You find...
actually do that. I'm like, damn. Damn, oh, it's deep.
That's not, but you know what? So I'm a bit of a, I need it all. When you have very short time scales to get stuff done, I can turn into that person. So I have to spot the difference. So I actually realized that, interesting enough, the stuff that I was doing to get me to where I got to, some of the stuff I was doing actually is the opposite to what I need to do to keep doing what I'm doing now. So my reputation is being very detailed. My reputation is very, he gets things right the first time around. But then you have to now realize, if that's what you keep doing, you're not going to let anyone else around you grow, and you've got to let go of some of that stuff. And you have to actually think, what do you actually want to be in the long term? So yeah, I think the mindset switch for me is actually going, how do I not just deliver, but actually turn around and say, how do I get a team to follow me and want to be there and enjoy the atmosphere and the culture that you build and develop in the team?
So if you could go back and, I guess, give yourself, that classic question, give yourself advice, say 10 years ago, so that you would have been able to accelerate your growth in this last 10 years, then what would you say to yourself, Mickela? What would you say that, a lesson that if you learned it maybe a little bit quick time, then maybe things would have accelerated for you even further than what they are?
I think one of them definitely is the power of networking. One of the reasons why I set up my business was the fact that my sister passed away, and it was for health reasons, but around the same time there was a lot of youth crime. So it's kind of like we've done a full circle and back to where we are now. And when that happened, I kind of like just buried myself in my studies and then setting up the business. And it was literally, I've got my own back, I can do this all by myself. So I shut out a lot of people, but then also I didn't like going to events because personally I didn't want to be out and about. Whereas now, when I feel a lot better and I feel a lot more confident and I'm able to accept a passing, I'm able to go out and socialize more and go to all these various business events and actually speak to people. So even though my friends and my family will know me as this bubbly, loud person, whenever I'm in a business environment, sometimes I can shy away from making that initial move and speaking to somebody or telling people what I do. And the past few years where I have been making a conscious effort to do that, the amount of awareness that we've got, the amount of support that we've got has been amazing. So definitely, if I knew the power of networking 10 years ago, we would definitely have grown a lot more. And at the beginning as well, I had two mentors actually, and both of them said to me, you either have to be the director or you have to be a coach. You can't do both. And I was like, no, I can do it. I can do that. So I took on too many different roles. And again, if I didn't take on so much and I focused on, like you said, being the leader and making those big changes, and instead of doing the coaching and going into schools or doing the accounts or writing that report, again, I think growth would have been a lot quicker, and that word success would have flourished a lot sooner.
Yeah. No, it's really tough to be the leader and the doer, if that makes sense. My friend is a hairdresser and she loves doing hair, and then she wanted to open up a salon. And when she opened up the salon, she stopped doing hair, because opening up a salon is very different than actually the physical kind of doing of hair. And so she had to make the decision to, even though she's award winning, she's fantastic, but she had to kind of take a step back and say, wait a minute, I love doing hair, so I need to make sure I build that into my career. And then other friends have said, oh wait, actually I like the leadership bit. I love making sure that like coaching is accessible to many people. So my friend Jen, like she just, she makes coaching available to everyone, even though she's a coach herself, but now she's a director of a company of coaches. And so you do sometimes have to make your decisions where to spend your time, where best to put your hand to. So yes, networking and, I guess, doing and leading. Wanita?
I would
What would you tell yourself 10 years
I would
ago?
definitely yeah, I would definitely say networking. But I always when I answer this question say I wouldn't have listened anyway. But I'm stubborn as hell. Do you get what I mean? Like, so it's wasting my time. But saying what you mean at the time. Don't hold it because you're in. This is like the first time in boardrooms that you're like, okay, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it now. I'm gonna say it to the cheerleader I really get on after the meeting. Like say it in the meaning and saying it with authority and say that you believe it. And when you're saying something, say it with truth,
Mhm.
even if it's like a sideball.
Really?
Yeah, I'm still a consumer, and that's I would say before I was the only woman on the board of directors, and we had this big town hall, and they wanted me to prove that women are 80% of shoppers, regardless bricks and mortar, web. And so I had to, and I had to say I'm a consumer. So you need to ask the consumers. This is not about men in a boardroom making a decision when their wives are buying them their clothes. It's not. So you have to say it with truth and you have to say it with authority. And usually, if you can pre-plan what you say, have a bit of data with you. I say data with heart. I can say 100 times that I think the best-selling shirt in this company is probably blue. I don't need to know it. I don't need anybody to have data on it. But I think data with heart is important.
Mhm.
It's not data's data, but if you don't really look at it, if you don't really look at it with an honest eye and an open eye, then I think data can kill companies and it can kill the consumer experience as well.
Mhm. Data with
It's not
heart.
simply, yeah, it's not simply it's not all this isn't wrapped up in an Excel sheet and chugged out at the end.
No, no, it's not. There's
Yeah,
always a story. I always say that stories are what sell, right?
yeah,
So I always have, even though I have data for some of my the work that I do, some of the big companies, but it's always about that. When I was a consultant back at EY, we always had the data bit, but then we also had like customer journeys. Just because you always have to have that story, just like, Sam walks into the store, Sam walks into the bank, and this is what he wants. And how's he gonna get that? That the manager does this, but he has to call this person. Like that's how when you walk it through that way, then you really get the feel for the data. And then you speak to people in different languages. So I feel you, data with heart. We're gonna use that. Okay, Mr. Data Transformation with heart.
I can't say data now, can
I know. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I?
Go into it. You know what? Janet Joy, thank you so much. I'm so totally forgot to read out the comments. Janet's just like, yo, she just received a no for a job application, literally right before she joined the webinar. So the first question you asked was for me. So before you go into what you would tell your 10-year-old or yourself 10 years ago, you just had a job again, job change. Pat on the back. Exactly. When have you ever received a no in terms of something that you've gone for? Like when you
Yes.
have a job here,
Yeah.
and can you just give a special word for Janet? Don't even tell us. Tell Janet. Well, Janet, whole speaking to you right now. Like what do you do emotionally? So she just received the no, right? So she's home now, listening to us. What kind of motivational word are you going to give her?
I'll say it the same way I'd say it to myself. It's quite simply, don't just take every no. It's just a no. It really is just a no. It doesn't mean that you're a less person or you're less smart or you're less intelligent. It's just a no. Someone else will tell you yes. And, you could have so many reasons why that no showed up. It could just be a case of they already had a candidate in mind, and it could be a lot of reasons. It doesn't mean that you should stop going. It's sort of like you've heard a no, so what? Go again, try somewhere else, go for something else, keep going, get better, sell yourself better. I mean, to me, it's just a no.
It is just a no, exactly. So Janet, please don't take that no personally. It is not an indicator of your value or your success. It is just a, a little kind of stop, just to say, hey, what's going on here? It's a little nudge, just to say, hey, what's going on? So that maybe something that you have to tweak, but it has nothing to do with you and your value and how amazing you are. So that is the word from Mentor Mondays today. And Janet says, thank you guys. So
I was
thank you.
at an event and a lady was speaking about people telling her no, and she takes no as meaning not over. So it's not over.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that. It is not. I'm about to say, I was like, I'm trying to think of it no as in terms of the context of what we're talking about, and not like the Me Too movement or anything like that. I was like, no. There are some times when no means no, Janet. Like, but really free.
But also, I think, but also don't take no as a starting place. I never take no as a starting place. Like, exhaust every possibility and know that it's your end. Like, it's one job, but this can't be your starting place, right?
Yes.
Don't accept no at your starting place. I
Janet,
won't accept no. Like if I'm in a meeting and someone's like, well, we can't do it because we can't do that, we can't do that. Why are we starting at no? So what's the point of having the conversation? I have to exhaust every possibility to get to know. Give me time to get to know. Don't start at no. What's the point?
Yeah,
So this
exactly.
is you haven't exhausted every possibility. It's one role, so you're definitely at the start. So there's no way that no doesn't mean much. It needs to be at the end after 100 applications.
Yeah.
Janet saying, I love it. So thank you so much, Janet, for that. And everyone, please, I'll do much better job of monitoring the conversation that's coming in. Thank you so much for that, Janet. If you guys have any questions, then I am looking, and I have a set of questions that came over online that people were asking about. How people are asking how
10-year-old self?
Yeah, but you're not gonna get it yet. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get your time yet. Or do you want your 10-year-old advice? Okay, fine. Sorry, guys. I'm looking over this screen because yes, he wants to. Oh, well, yes, definitely. What would you tell your 10-year-old self, or yourself 10 years?
10 years ago, rather than 10-year-old self, he wouldn't listen at all. He's 10 years old me. You can't hold him down, 10-year-old me. Okay, so 10. It's something I'm actually hearing now a lot. I think I've over time found the need to come into a room and quite quickly show people that I'm the cleverest person in the room. And someone said this to me last year, and I almost got offended by it because they said it worked for me for a while, and they know I'm smart, but I feel the need to make everyone else in the room realize I'm smart. And what I could tell myself 10 years ago is, you're smart. You don't need to show it every single time. You don't need to be first to speak in the meeting. You don't need to be the one whose voice is heard. It doesn't need to be your idea every single time. It doesn't need to be your way only. You don't need to get frustrated when it's not your way. You could almost sit there and go, yeah, people recognize that I'm smart. And if I've said something and they disagree with it, there might be a reason for it. And I should actually seek to understand that reason better, as opposed to assuming that somehow that's personal. I need to make my case a bit, because all you do come across in that moment is you're a bit more, I'll say assertive, but it's aggressive. You're just a bit more domineering in the meeting. People are more like, okay, words they used to describe it isn't confident, isn't humble. It's rather, you can dominate conversations, which is what people would say to me. So definitely, I think being able to just say to myself, actually, you're smart. You don't need to prove it every single time you get into a room.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? Thank you for that. It's really, there's a point where it's a tough balance, isn't it? Because on one hand, I know that there are some people who struggle with, particularly women as well, struggle with putting their ideas out there and actually being heard at the boardroom table, or just in terms of senior positions. They have to do kind of special things and think of things that maybe they hadn't thought of before to get their point across. And then on the other hand, I know when I moved from being a consultant to being a professor, then the dean of my school said, you know what, Mel, you are from a consulting background. You're used to having to prove value to your clients, so that you have to show your clients that you're worth the money that you're charging them. But with your students, all you have to do is show. You don't have to show them anything. your position in the front of the room teaching them, your sole responsibility is to make sure the information in your head is deposited into their brains in the best way possible. And it's a very different mindset to be kind of to approach how you communicate at kind of a group of people or even one person. And it was really tough. I think that the consultancy mindset is show people how smart you are, show people how valued you are. And we grow up that way, that type A personality that I've had to kind of rear back. And I don't think I would have gotten the awards this far if I still had that mentality, because it's actually all about showing other people. Maybe it's really hard. That's a hard one. So you don't have to be first this week. You don't. It doesn't always have to be your idea. You're right. That's so powerful. Thank you for that. I'm glad that you stopped me and reminded me that you had something to share. We've had some questions come in. Like, here's my phone of questions. In regard to some of the registrations, and people, they saw what you guys had done, and a few questions in regards to how do they choose the right path. So let's start from the beginning. How do you know when to persevere, and how do you know when to let go? So, sometimes when you get that no, you're like, oh yeah, let me keep on going because no is not over. Right, Janet? Got you. But then sometimes maybe that no is like, you're hella crazy. And so maybe you should be looking and doing something else. So like, what kind of tips would you give someone where they're trying to say, look, I have tons of ideas, but how do I know which one to pursue? How do I know which one's crazy because people are telling me no? And how do I know, like, how did you know that? How do you know when not to accept the no and when to accept the no? Does that make sense? Anyone want to answer that?
That's seriously tough. I think it's seriously tough because if you're by your very nature to be successful, you've got to be a fighter. And fighters tend not to hear no. They don't tend not to see. I turn around people. I don't see problems. I don't see obstacles. I just try and find solutions. So it's really tough for me. I probably persevered in stuff much longer than I need to do because I wasn't ready to let go. And if I'm perfectly honest, I pray about it, and if I feel peace about saying that's okay, I'll let it go. Besides that, I think that just everything I've done, I probably throw myself into it 100% and not heard the no's. And that's been great in most instances, but in some instances, I could have let go a bit earlier.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah, there are some times I know I could have let go hella earlier. I'd be like, I look back now, I'm like, damn, girl, didn't you look at the signs? Did you see those signs? I know this.
But you love the tough obstacles at the same time, which is it's somewhat. I think if things were easy all the time, I would get bored.
Yes, you're right. But it is tough. It's tough. So yes, the answer to that question is it probably is. It depends. Is that what we're saying? It depends on yes. It depends on no. Like when
we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Wanita.
Oh, you can't ask me. I'm the one that just said I will never start at no. So you can imagine. Like I don't know. It's how I don't know. Like what does it mean to you? I think like sometimes what does it mean to you? What are you going to gain from it, and how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
But that's a hard question for me because I'm the one that's saying you can't start at no. What is that? It's hard. So sometimes I should.
So then, okay. So basically, it depends. I'm really sorry that we didn't have it wasn't like a real definitive answer. It really is a navigation of your own path, my darling. And then one more question is, now these are quite tough, sorry, philosophically, but do I plan my career along the quickest path possible, which is, higher pay sooner, or do I follow my heart and my gut and do what I want to do and hope the money follows? Pardon?
Turn your passion into pounds.
Turn your passion into pounds. See, I felt like Mickela would say that, and I'm glad that you did. But no, and what
I I
please,
started off my career path wanting to be an accountant. I loved maths when I was at school. I went to college and did my A levels in economics, accounting, and IT and uses of maths. I stopped playing sports. I stopped studying sports, and that was probably the worst year academically. It was my lowest grades. I was miserable, and it was around that time when I realized, or I heard the saying, um, "Choose a job that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life." And that's when I decided to go to uni and study sports science.
mm, the thing is that so now this might be a bit controversial,
Mhm.
but you guys are all quite unique, right? Very clearly, we're able to articulate the numbers behind your business. And now it makes absolute sense that you thought you were going to be an accountant, Mickela, because most small business owners that I work with, I can't even get real figures from them. I'm like, really? Like what's going on here, people? Like, can I get a budget? Can I get something? Cost of doing business, anything, anything. And so now that totally does not surprise me. Actually makes perfect sense because that on your form, even for the wards, I remember the judge, you just had numbers. Like people just they don't even think about their businesses, their passions in numbers. So how did you get there? Like, is it because it was because you were an accountant, or, how do you, a lot of us love to help others, right? We have this community thing, but we're not really good at monetizing our efforts if we are, when it's our own businesses and when it's our own businesses that are social enterprises and helping people. How did you do that in regards to even your description? You're like, yeah, these are how many students we've helped. This is what's up. Like, that's not normal. That's not the regular thing. No, seriously. Am I wrong, Wanita? Ovo, like, do you guys hear that a lot with you guys work with people, like we go to your Black History Month events, like you open up the coffin and you're like, damn, like you can't, like, I'm still looking for a business plan. Oh, now I'm looking for the business plan. So
Oh,
how did you get there?
I think
yeah.
it was a lot from my background in terms of uni, and the research that I had to do there. And with regards to setting up the business, again, a lot of it was based on the research I had done at uni. So with regards to your previous question, when do you take no and listen to that no, how far do you go? I feel like it has to be an informed decision. So whereas I say turn your passion into pounds, if I liked making bracelets and I was very passionate about that, but it wasn't going to make me no money, then I wouldn't obviously go for that role. However, when I set up my business, I had a lot of research that was done with the young people, with the parents, with the schools, with youth clubs, and I knew that it was an area that was in need, especially with regards to the youth crime situation and with regards to the cuts that the government had been placing, especially on childcare services, youth services. So for me to get involved in that, as being a not-for-profit organisation, I knew I could get a bit of funding to help put on activities. And then once our name had kind of built up, then people would want to buy into the service. So that's how I was able to turn my passion into pounds. It wasn't just, oh, I love doing this, let me do this. It's a structured, well informed business plan with loads of numbers and loads of data that helped me to get where I was and yeah, just see where the income can come from. And for me, if somebody says no, but I can see as well on paper or with my own eyes that it's not working, if it's going to waste my time and waste my money, I stop.
Honestly, I love the fact that you are all so different, but all three of you have, well, obviously, although that's your job, but have mentioned data and the importance of kind of data and stats and data with heart, as Anita coined it earlier in the conversation, and just because it is after all businesses that you're running rather than it being just kind of da 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 kind of dancing. Wanita, you wanted to say something about the.
I think like when I do the talks in school, one thing I tell them in every industry, there's probably someone getting paid £5.75. and there's someone getting paid £5,000 like a dentist. So they're doing exactly the same thing, but someone's getting paid low level, someone's getting paid high level. And that's about your brand worth. So whatever you want to do, there's money to be made in that. But it's about your talents and your brand worth. And sometimes passion helps, but it is about that brand equity in that story. It's how easy is it to get the pound out of your customer's hand? And what's the value of that pound? Because sometimes when someone gives you a pound, it's actually £2 to them because of your brand. So sometimes I think it doesn't matter what you do, but it's about your brand equity and your brand worth, because there's, in every industry, there's always someone getting paid baseline, and then there's always someone getting paid over the mark. And the difference is the brand equity of that person, or the brand story of that person.
Like that, I feel that's a tweetable somewhere in there. I feel like I need to. Are we all like investigating my brand equity? Like I'm like, Mel, what's your brand equity? Rufus, what's going on? Sorry, my dog. I'm like, what's our brand equity? I need to investigate these things, because you're right. There are some things that ooh-wee. And that's a whole other psychological topic in terms of how we come to the table and how much our I can't even go into that right now because it's so deep. Because you're right. Some people come into the table and say, I'm not worth much. My effort's not worth much. My work is not worth as much. Wow. I feel like there'll be a masterclass on that. I'm not joking about that. There's always a masterclass. I was like, I just want me to be like, just prepare. I was like, that's exchange. I'm going to ask Tamu for your time. Okay, so yes, those were the questions that I know that we had to cover, and I know that we're almost already over almost. Yes, Ovo.
Can I just add to that one? Just add to that once. So if you may see the pictures behind me, those are pictures I've taken, photographs I've taken. If you can see them. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we can't see what the photos are, but we see that they're photos.
Yeah, I can bring them closer if you want to see them. But the point is, you have to recognize the difference between a hobby and a passion. And what is, sometimes people think every single hobby you've got will be the thing that I enjoy taking pictures on holiday. I don't want to be a photographer for a life. And I had to recognize the difference. And loads of people in my life said, you should be a photographer. Look how good your stuff is. You should do this for a living. And I think that you've got to spot the difference between actually what do you enjoy doing, really enjoy doing. And I enjoy solving complex problems. I don't if you give me a complex problem, I will love solving that. It's not quite the same as how I feel when I take pictures. When I take pictures, I'm having fun. And it's great someone will pay me to take a picture at the wedding, but that isn't what I want to do. If I did that every single day, quite quickly, I would not like it.
Yeah. So are you saying that there are some things that should be hobbies?
Yes.
And so how would a person decide that?
I think you have to ask yourself the question, if you did this every single day for the rest of your life, is this what you want to do? You did this every single day.
There are some hobbies that I could do. I could literally do makeup for the rest of my life.
And would you be happy? Would you be content? Would that be... You can see shaking heads. Would you be content?
I was happy before. Yeah, working in... Probably not touching some people's skin, but that seems like it's a cost of the job. You know, like, ooh, I could... Yeah. Because then if we link it to Wanita's point, then, you know, basically people are willing to pay for anything as long as you kind of attach the, you know, kind of your matching value, like their value with your value in a sense, right? Like it has to be something of value to them for them to want to pay any kind of money for it. Interesting. What would I want to do for the rest of my life? Exactly what I'm doing right now. Talking to you guys on the screen. No, but thank you. Thank you so much. Because we're already kind of 10 minutes over in regards to the time. These are just short and sharp. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined us. I see you guys. I see all of your names. If you this has been recorded, and so we'll definitely put this out there and let you guys know when we have one coming up every week until December 3rd, and then we break for holiday, and then we're going to be back on the other side. And then this is also available for this video is also going to be available for your reviewing as well. The replay is available as of tomorrow. So yes, by all means, please, I want to thank Mickela, Ovo, and Wanita for this first edition of Mentor Monday season 2. And I will talk to all of you. I know it's like time to go. Time to go. Stop talking. Thank you guys so much, and I will speak to all of you very soon. And see you next week on Monday. Bye, everyone. Bye.